Hi everyone, hope you are doing well. In this video, we are going to set up the configuration management for the Spring Boot application. This video is a part of a series called as Software Engineering Bootcamp. And as a part of a series, we have been setting up an application that's an e-commerce system. And for that, we have been working for the backend stuff. You see, we have set up multiple things, including the Google login and deploying to Azure as well. So in this particular video, we'll set up the configuration management. That is, we'll have a configuration file, application.properties, and where we'll set up a bunch of configurations with the help of key and value pair. And here we'll set up two types of configuration. One is the configuration which can be hard-coded in the code for the configuration where the security and privacy is not that important. Something which can be publicly available. For example, mock username, mock profile, those things. But there can be some of the configurations which you don't want to expose in the configuration file. So for that, what we are going to do is we'll use environment variable. So in the configuration files, what you can do is that you can even set up the environment variable as well. And then you can use the properties using environment variable. For example, here what I'm doing is that the environment I'm setting using the environment variable, so that on my local, I can have a different environment variable. On prod, I can have different environment variable, etc. So those things I can configure from here itself. So how do we do that? Let's quickly get started. So what I'll do is that I'll open this configuration file. So this is the configuration file which is needed to configure the application properties or the configurations. So this is the configuration class. You can create any class you want to, it doesn't matter. You need to annotate it with @component. @component means that the Spring Boot will actually scan the whole folder and it will figure out what are the classes which it needs to load. And then this @configuration properties will tell Spring Boot that for this class, it needs to search for the application.properties and then it needs to map this class to the application property. Let me open them side by side so that I can help you visualize more. So here, if you see, this is the configuration properties and we have prefix equal to app, which means that all the properties which correspond to this configuration class will start with app and then dot. Then if I want to set up environment, I'll do app.environment. If I want to set up mock user, then I'll do app.mockuser.user ID, email ID, is email verified, these things. So I can keep on putting dot and I can keep on having more and more properties. So here, for example, I have app.mockuser.user ID. User ID comes within this object. Likewise, I can have more things like app.environment equal to these things. Now here you see there are two types of values. One is the simple hard-coded value, that is key and value pair. That's it. That's what you have here. The other is this $environment. $environment means nothing. It's just that the thing will be picked from the environment variable. So this particular value, from where it will be picked, let me show you. So here in the backend application, when you run the code and when you click here, you click on this modify run configuration. So you can set the environment variable. So here I have set environment equal to dev. So this particular key will get replaced with the environment variable. Here, if I can show you in the application properties, you can see this will get replaced with dev. So that's what will happen. So two types of things have been set up. Now let me show you by running the things. So I'll run it from here. Just the regular run button, nothing else. And since I'm running things on local, so I have done one thing to test things out. So in the authentication filter, I have just added one code flow. That's it, nothing much. So in the authentication filter, what I have done is that I have added this configuration check. So basically in this class, what you can do is that you can do @auto-add configuration so that you can fetch the configuration in your classes. So this is what I have done. I have added this change @auto-add configuration class. And then here I can just do configuration.getEnvironment. That's it. And I'll be able to get the value. So here you see this environment. This is a private variable and just I have added getter and setter. So using the getter, I can get the value. So here I'm just having a check that if it is a dev environment, then use the mock user. So the mock user is also getting fetched from the configuration object itself. That's this mock user. That's it. So I have run it. Now I'll go to my browser and try to open the same thing. So I have this localhost 8080. Let me reload the thing. And you see this data is getting loaded. Here I have this data which is hard coded here. I can put anything here I want to. I can put, let's say, better dev with Anubhav. So I can put anything here. It will just help you to test, right? So whenever you are testing, you don't have to always log in and do everything end to end. So I'll just run it again. Let's just wait for it to run. So here I have name equal to better dev with Anubhav. I'll go back and here I'll reload the same thing. And you see we have better dev with Anubhav. So whatever key and value you set, those things get honored. And how do we do that? We have app dot mock user dot name. Name is this better dev with Anubhav. And then what happens in the authentication filter? How to set a filter was there in the previous video. Here in this particular video, the only thing I have done is I have added this check that if the environment is dev, then just use the mock user. That's it. That's the only difference I have. Everything else is just the same. So you can have such kind of checks and such kind of keys and value pairs so that you can make decision in your code. Now let's do one thing. Let's stop it. And now what I'll do is that I'll open terminal and let me show you the if changes using the git. So you see, I have two files here. In fact, three files. One is the configuration properties. Let me open the GitHub desktop to show you the same thing. So you see, these are the three files I have. One is this new file which is added. The other is the configuration file which I'm adding. And the third is the code change which I'm doing, which is specific to the condition which I'm trying to add. So how to use it is this one. And these are the two changes which I had to do. Now what I'll do is that I'll go here and I can actually push this change directly to the main branch. We have already talked how to push the changes to other branch and create a pull request. Here we are not going to do that because things are just working fine. So we'll just push it and then we'll change the environment variable. So on the prod, this environment variable will not exist. So we will not need to log in or do anything. So we can just add things here like adding the configurations and then we can commit here. We can commit these things and then we can push. So now the changes will be deployed in some time. Let's go to the browser again. So here, if you see, for now, this is my Azure where things will get deployed. And for now, if you reload the page, you will see that you will have to log in for now. That's how the things have been set up for now, that we have a login button. The person needs to click. They will be logged in. That's a traditional flow, which is working for now. And now, since we have triggered the deployment, let's see here. Let's click on overview. So the deployment would have started by now. So let's just wait for that. We can also go to GitHub and see the same thing. So this was a GitHub repo, which we have been working upon. And you can see that the deployment is in progress. You see? So we'll just wait for the deployment. And once the deployment is done, then we will reload the page and we'll see that nothing will change for now, at least. But then we'll make some changes for the things to reflect the changes. So let's just wait for the things. We'll just reload our Azure portal. And here we'll wait for the deployment to finish. We see the deployment is happening. So that's a good thing in the CI/CD pipeline, that whenever you commit the code and you push the code, the deployment will take care by itself. So here the deployment is happening. This is the local thing which was working with the mock data. Right now we stopped for local service. And here you can configure the GitHub desktop as well, the command line interface for GitHub. You can check out this website. It's quite good for this will be helpful for Mac based laptops. I don't think it is there for Windows. Might be, but for Mac, it was quite helpful for me. You can check out for setting up Git on local for Mac. If you want to, you can check out this website. Anyways, it's not needed for now. So we are just waiting for the deployment. You see the deployment is in progress. And let's close this one as well. Let's just wait for the deployment. You see that the deployment is finished from here. That is from the GitHub side. Here, let's reload and see if that deployment is really finished from the Azure portal side. There is always some gap. GitHub, although says the deployment is finished, it takes around a minute or so for Azure to reflect the same thing. So we'll just wait a little. I don't think we'll have to wait a lot, but a little. So the deployment is finished here. We can reload the page and let's see the changes, if there is any change here or not. So we see no change for now, because although the things were working on local without logging in, for example, let me open the IntelliJ IDE, run the same thing. So you saw that we didn't have to log in on localhost because the environment was dev on local. So let's say I'm running this thing and let's go to the Safari browser. Let's do localhost 8080. So we didn't have to log in anything in localhost, but why we have to log in on production? So for that, we need to set up the environment variable, because using the environment variable, we have set up a bunch of things. So we'll go to the configurations and we'll add the environment variable. So remember that the last environment variable was being set from here. So we'll go here. You see the environment variables can be set from here. I'll add the environment variable here. And I'll have env, iron, ment, and we'll do dev here. And I'll click on save. I think this is needed whenever you change the environment variable. And if you do this, then it reloads stuff. I don't fully remember the use case. Do check out in the internet, or I'll check out in the same thing in the description. So I'll do this and I'll click on save and continue, so that the environment variable gets updated. So the environment variable got added here. I'll click on overview and let's reload this page and see if things have started to reflect, or does it take some time. So we'll wait a little to see the deployment. Is the deployment or the environment variable getting reflected here or not? I think it does take some time. So I'll just pause the recording and then I'll continue in a while. I think it took around 2 minutes for the changes to be reflected. So if I go here and reload the same thing, I'm able to see the mock data. So all the mock data is available here. It's not the actual data. So now I'm not able to log in, or the login with Google button is not showing up because it's assuming that the login with Google is already done. So that's what is already happening. I'll come back here and in the configuration and delete the environment variable because it's no longer needed. So I'll just delete it from here and I'll click on save. And the changes will be reflected in some time. So in some time, we'll be able to see the regular Google login button as well. So yeah, I think I was helpful, and I think this video would have been helpful for you on how to set up the configuration overall. So if we come here and we check out the code, so you can check out how to use the configuration. So using the configuration is easy. You just use the getters of the configuration object. You can import in your class using @AutoWire, and that's it. You will be done. Likewise, how to set up is also easy. You just create a configuration class and annotate it using this. And in the application.properties, you can have the corresponding keys so that you can have the values corresponding to them. So both things also you can configure. And for the environment variable, the $environment is okay. So here for other environment variables, you can have different environment variables and use it. For example, connecting to database. So you might want to have credentials stored in the environment variable and not here. So those things also you can configure. So yeah, I think this video was helpful. I hope that you were able to understand the overall setup and the flow for the setting up of environment variable and the configurations. This particular thing will be helpful when you are setting up your system scale. So that's it from my side for this video. Till the next time. Bye.